Stop walking so much after 70. This Buddhist secret will change your life. Expanded. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I am so excited to dive into today's topic because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I truly believe it's incredibly relevant for all of us, but especially if you're navigating those often misunderstood, but incredibly beautiful and valuable years after 70. I see these years as a precious time to truly focus on what matters most. Have you ever stopped to consider why so many people, when they get into their later years, find themselves suddenly facing health challenges, sometimes feeling completely blindsided by them? Or perhaps you've personally felt that nagging worry, that underlying concern about your own well-being as the sands of time continue to flow. Maybe you've even been given advice that just doesn't quite ring true, doesn't feel quite right in your bones? I know I have. Well, today, we are going to tackle those questions head-on. We're going to really dig into this, explore some fascinating insights, and I promise you, it will all be rooted in the timeless wisdom of Buddhism. I truly believe that these insights will completely reshape the way that you think about health and vitality during those later years of life, and ultimately help all of us to embrace them with more joy, more clarity, and more peace. We're not just going to be talking about dry, theoretical information today. Oh no, not at all. Instead, we're going to be breaking down the complexities of why our bodies and our minds change as we get older. We'll take a deep dive into some of those ingrained and often outdated assumptions about what we should be doing to stay healthy, especially some of those things that we've been told over and over again, like walking. And crucially, we're going to reveal two incredibly powerful, yet remarkably simple, things that you should be focusing on instead of just blindly walking all of the time. I know that might sound a bit shocking, even counterintuitive right now, but trust me, this is a journey that you definitely won't want to skip, so stick around to the end. So, get comfortable, perhaps grab a cup of your favorite tea or beverage, settle in, and let's embark on this journey of discovery together. And if you happen to be new to our little community here, a huge, warm welcome to you. Please consider clicking that subscribe button and tapping on that little notification bell, so you can make sure you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos, all of them filled with wisdom, insights, and practical guidance that will help you to live a more enriched life. And perhaps most importantly, let's start creating a lively and engaged conversation in the comments section down below, because I genuinely want to hear from you. Tell me, what are your personal thoughts, your experiences, your ideas about health, well-being, and growing older? What do you feel in your heart about these things? Let's start learning from each other, because I think that's how we can all truly grow. Now, before we can get into the exciting part of the how-to, we really need to understand the why. It's like wanting to build a strong foundation for a building. We have to understand the lay of the land. So, why is it that so many people find their health seems to just suddenly decline after they hit their 70s, and sometimes it can even feel dramatic, like a rapid nosedive? Why does this happen? It's definitely not as simple as just chalking it up to getting old. It's much more complex than that. It's really a whole interconnected web, a complex constellation of different factors, each playing their own significant role. You know, it always makes me think of a beautiful ancient temple, or perhaps a magnificent historic building. Over the centuries, the stones begin to shift, the mortar inevitably starts to erode, and so it requires a new kind of attention, a different kind of care, and perhaps a slightly different approach to its maintenance. Our bodies, in a similar way, are really quite the same. From a strictly biological perspective, there is a lot that is going on under the surface, many changes happening constantly. Our immune systems, which have been protecting us so faithfully for all of our lives, naturally begin to weaken, making us far more vulnerable to the many illnesses and viruses that are out there. We also see that chronic diseases, those sneaky and sometimes subtle conditions that may have been slowly brewing under the radar for years, often begin to surface much more prominently, making their presence felt in very real ways. And while it is true that genetics do play a role, it's really important to remember that it is absolutely not a rigid destiny sentence. Our choices, our actions, also have a major influence. But now, here's the really interesting part, and I'm not sure everyone knows this. Lifestyle choices, the things that we do, the habits we practice every day, often play an even bigger and more significant role than our genetics. When we really consider this, it's quite empowering because we can then make different decisions. Think about it for a moment. How many of us actually stick to those really good, healthy, consistent habits throughout our entire lives? It's often really tough. We get busy, our lives become increasingly more demanding, we tend to become more comfortable and settled, and sometimes, almost unintentionally, we begin to subtly and gradually neglect the things that really do matter the most to our long-term well-being. Things like poor sleep patterns, a diet that becomes increasingly filled with convenience and processed foods, and a lack of varied exercise. These are the kinds of habits that can absolutely accelerate physical decline in a really big way. Now, I definitely do not want to stand here and throw stones, as we all have those days. I understand firsthand that life can get so hectic, and that we all have moments when we don't always make the best choices for ourselves. However, that is also where awareness, that is the first step to change. Knowing what we need to change is the start of making that change. And then there is the silent elephant that sometimes can get overlooked, and it's the psychological side of aging. Loneliness and depression can absolutely and profoundly impact both your physical and your mental well-being. It's like a double-edged sword, unfortunately. The sense of isolation chips away, little by little, at our motivation to truly and genuinely take care of ourselves, creating this really awful cycle of decline that can be quite tough to break free from. I've actually seen this firsthand with my own family, and it really left a deep impact on me. My grandmother, who was a very proud and fiercely independent woman, became increasingly more isolated after she lost her husband, who had been her partner for over 60 years. And it was honestly just so incredibly painful to watch the light slowly dim from her eyes, and to observe how that also impacted her physical health so very significantly. It became a very real and vivid reminder to me of the immense importance of connection, the value of community, and the absolutely vital role of social support, particularly for our elders who are often overlooked and left on the fringes of society. And we simply cannot, we should not, ignore the often very real economic factors that can create many barriers to well-being. Medical care isn't cheap by any means, and it's very sad that the fear of the financial burden that it can impose can actually lead people to start neglecting their health, or even worse, it can cause the misuse of important medications and treatments. This situation is heartbreaking because it is genuinely a problem that, in a more caring society, really doesn't have to be. We have to work to make medical care more accessible for all of those in need, especially our elders. The Buddha, that great and profoundly wise teacher, taught us that to keep the body in good health is a duty, otherwise we shall not be able to keep our minds strong and clear. This isn't just about adding more years to our lives. It's about the far more important idea of adding life to our years. It's about quality, not just quantity. We can't just passively waltz through life, just hoping for the best. It's simply not enough to hope. We have to take a more active and proactive approach to our health, both our physical and our mental health. We have to become the guardians of our own well-being, and in so doing, we also start to take care of the wider world around us. Now, please, I don't want this to sound like all doom and gloom. Absolutely not. This is all about empowerment. It is all about truly understanding the different challenges that we might face, so we can ultimately take back control and become the true architects of our own well-being and our own lives. And a really important part of that process involves making a really significant shift, and honestly, the next part might just surprise you. So, let's take a look at walking now. Walking, an activity that many people have always told us is the absolute, holy grail of fitness, the go-to activity that will always keep us strong and healthy, especially as we begin to move further along the road of aging. Now look, I know, walking is absolutely wonderful, and it certainly has its many benefits, and I am absolutely not here to tell you to stop walking entirely. Please be clear on that. But it's really crucial, it's absolutely fundamental, to understand that too much of what might seem like a really good thing can actually, in fact, be quite detrimental, especially, in particular, after the age of 70. Our bodies are always changing. That is the natural process of life. And as we age, our bodies begin to change in ways that require us to make different choices and adaptations. As we get older, the cartilage in our joints, which provides the cushion and the support, naturally starts to wear down. And this means that excessive walking, or overly repetitive walking, can become quite harmful. It can actually lead to pain, discomfort, and in some cases, even injuries. It's like the wheels on a well-loved old bicycle. Eventually, they just need a little more care and attention to keep them running smoothly. I vividly remember hearing a heartbreaking story about a retired primary school teacher. Her name was Mrs. Evans, who absolutely and passionately adored her morning walks. For literally decades, she had walked 4 miles each and every day. It was her ritual. It was her way of starting the day, of connecting with the world, and it brought her immense joy. But over time, those very walks that had given her so much started to cause her some pretty serious knee pain. She had started to feel quite frustrated, and she even started to believe, as many of us do, that her body was simply giving up on her. The frustration, confusion, and lack of control she felt was palpable. It wasn't until she had a very candid and honest conversation with her doctor that she finally understood that while walking was undoubtedly good for her and had served her very well for all of those years, she had been overdoing it for her body's current state. Mrs. Evans was then told that she needed to reduce her walking routine very significantly, and also that she should incorporate some other activities that were far more gentle on her joints and more supportive of her overall long-term health and well-being. This conversation with her doctor was really eye-opening for her, and it also highlights the fundamental need to listen to our bodies, to become far more attuned to our bodies as we move through life. Sometimes what served us so well in the past may no longer be serving us in our current reality. The key idea that we need to grasp here is the understanding of moderation and also variety, which in many cases can be more important than just doing the same activity day after day. Now, this isn't solely about just the physical impact that repetitive walking can have on our joints and muscles. It's also about the deeper understanding of what our bodies actually need at this particular stage of our lives. This is all about listening to our bodies and really asking ourselves, are we truly listening to what our bodies are telling us? Are we simply just trying to go through the motions, ticking off all of those boxes that we think we should be doing? Or are we really tuned in and connected to what our body is truly asking from us right now? Okay, so now we've established that perhaps excessive walking isn't quite the silver bullet that we were all led to believe. So, if that's the case, what should we all be focusing on instead? How do we find new pathways to health and long-term vitality? It's time to get into the good stuff, the actionable steps. So, let's delve right in. Now, this is where the real magic happens. This is where I think we will all begin to feel more empowered and start to shift our perspective. Instead of mindlessly focusing our energies on repetitive, long walks, let's begin to intentionally and consciously shift our attention to two incredibly powerful and truly transformative pillars of health. The first, a well-balanced diet, and the second, increased mental activities. So, let's start with our relationship to food. It is such a fundamental part of our daily lives, and something we all interact with multiple times each day. And I want to be clear, I'm absolutely not here to tell you to go on some restrictive, crazy, or extreme diet. Instead, I want you to start paying closer attention to how your body interacts with food. This is about truly and consciously listening to our bodies, learning what they need to thrive, and providing our bodies with the fuel they need to truly operate at their optimal levels. It's all about nourishment, and not just about sustenance. Think of your body as a very high-performance, powerful, and finely tuned machine. And just like any high-performance machine, it really needs the right fuel to run efficiently, to keep the gears turning, to keep all of the many moving parts running smoothly. As we begin to move past the age of 70, protein becomes one of our greatest allies, the real hero of our journey. It helps to maintain muscle mass, which tends to naturally decline as we age, and in doing so, it helps to prevent frailty, and it allows us to maintain our independence for much longer. Think of protein as the diligent repair crew of the body, always working hard, always rebuilding and fortifying us, helping us to heal and to stay strong. Start to really focus on the highest quality sources of protein, such as wild-caught fish, free-range poultry, nutrient-rich eggs, full-fat dairy products, and organic soy. And of course, we cannot forget about the vitamins and the minerals, those unsung heroes of our overall health. When we load up on fresh vegetables, and we begin to eat a wide variety of them, as well as colorful, fresh fruits, and fiber-rich whole grains, this can all make a massive difference to how our body feels and the ways in which it functions. Instead of seeing food as the enemy, or just fuel for the body, we should also see food as medicine. Think of your plate as being like a rainbow, with each and every hue representing a different vitamin or mineral, each contributing something specific and unique to your overall well-being. Leafy green vegetables, for example, are absolutely packed full of vitamin K, which is vital for maintaining strong bone health, while the many citrus fruits are very rich in vitamin C, which helps to enhance and strengthen our immune defenses. And while we are talking about it, whole grains tend to offer a slower, more steady release of energy, which helps to keep us feeling more active and engaged throughout each and every day. And just as important as it is to add more of the good stuff, it is equally important to limit, and perhaps eventually remove, the bad stuff, things like excess salt, white sugar, and the harmful saturated fats. I fully understand that it's not always an easy process, and that these habits can sometimes be hard to break. But when we intentionally make those mindful choices, each choice contributes something positive to our lives in the long run. This is all about mindful eating, about truly savoring each and every bite of our food, about really appreciating the genuine nourishment it provides, and about developing a more conscious and intentional relationship with the food that we eat. Now, I am absolutely not here to jump up on a soapbox or lecture you about what you should or should not eat. But if we could all just remember to eat more mindfully and to make more intentional choices in this very important area of our lives, we could truly change so much about our overall health and well-being. Let me share a short, but I believe very illuminating story that really illustrates the profound and lasting impact that a balanced diet can have on our overall health. This story is deeply inspired by the ancient teachings of Buddhism. There was once an elderly monk who lived in a serene monastery nestled peacefully high in the mountains. Despite his age, which I'm sure was quite advanced, he seemed to always radiate a sense of vitality, inner calm, and absolute peace. And people would ask him, What is your secret? What is it that you do to have so much peace and good health? And the answer was always very simple. His secret was a very simple, but intentionally chosen balanced diet, along with a mindful approach to living. And as a very central part of his daily routine, he would truly believe that his body was a temple, that his body was a sacred place, and so he treated it as such. He made the conscious decision to only consume foods that he knew would nourish and support his body, and he avoided the foods that he knew would harm him or bring him down. And his story, his life, is a deep and beautiful reminder that what we choose to eat and how we choose to eat it profoundly affects our overall well-being, both physical and mental, and really the health of our minds, bodies, and spirits. So, with all of this information now swirling around in our minds, let me ask you this. How could you, right now, transform your own personal relationship with food so that you can truly nourish and support your body and mind during these incredibly important later years of life? Remember, it is genuinely never too late to embark on a new path towards living a more joyful, more healthy, and more fulfilling life, even in your 70s, your 80s, and even beyond. All right, now, let's move on to talk about that other really important and essential powerhouse of well-being, and that is mental activities. It's simply not enough to only focus on our physical health if we want to truly live a more vibrant and balanced life. We also need to work consciously and intentionally to keep our minds both engaged and sharp. We need to nurture our minds, and we need to truly understand the critical importance of cognitive health. Cognitive decline, which we've been told is simply a part of getting older, is a real and genuine concern as we age. I fully understand that, but it's really important to remember that it's absolutely not a given. This is not an inevitable part of aging. You are not destined for it, and I believe you can absolutely make a difference and choose a different path. When we intentionally engage in enjoyable and enriching hobbies, such as reading a great book, perhaps beginning to journal or write, painting, creating art, listening to or playing music, and perhaps even dancing, these are the kinds of things that can profoundly stimulate the brain, improve our thinking and our memory, and they also bring us a great, and this is very, very important, the enjoyment, the pleasure, is absolutely key here. If it feels like a chore, we aren't going to stick with it, and we won't get the real benefits. These kinds of activities, those which allow us to truly engage in what we love, strongly align with the deep and profound teachings of Buddhism, which emphasize engaging in pursuits that foster inner peace, mindfulness, and a deep sense of connection. Volunteering and actively participating in various social activities are also massively beneficial for our mental and emotional well-being. They bring a deep sense of purpose to our lives, and in doing so, they can really combat any feelings of isolation, loneliness, and depression. This always makes me think of that beautiful and timeless Buddhist proverb, which says, "Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened." And in that same way, happiness never decreases by being shared. These kinds of activities, when we engage with our local communities and connect with others, truly brings this very wise sentiment to life in a wonderfully and very practical way. It's really just like a beautiful and well-tended garden. A mind that is deeply engaged with creative and intellectual activities stays agile and vibrant, much like that garden thrives and blossoms when it is given the care and attention that it needs. Reading, for example, isn't just about expanding your knowledge and acquiring more information. It is also about sparking your imagination and developing a much more critical and open sense of thinking. Writing in particular can be an incredibly and wonderfully therapeutic exercise, allowing you to express your deeper emotions and reflect with genuine care and honesty on all of your past experiences. In today's modern world, and we are very fortunate for this, staying mentally active is easier than ever before. There is a vast wealth of resources available right at our very fingertips. Things like online courses, virtual book clubs, digital art classes, and so much more. There is a wealth of opportunities out there for continuous learning, creative expression, and intellectual growth. And when we embrace new technologies and digital platforms, we can then open the doors to completely new and exciting learning experiences and wonderful social connections, which might otherwise remain completely inaccessible to us. The Dalai Lama, that great spiritual leader, said, "The purpose of our lives is to be happy," and I truly believe that a great deal of that happiness often stems from meaningful engagement with the world around us and the quality of the relationships that we cultivate with each other. Cultivating enjoyable hobbies and creating rich social interactions isn't just about simply filling time. It's about deliberately and intentionally enriching the mind and the spirit. So, with that in mind, I want to sincerely ask you, what are those things that truly light your soul on fire? What activities truly bring you joy and a sense of purpose? And perhaps more importantly, are you actively making the time for those things in your busy daily life? Are you carving out the space for what really matters? This is all about intentional living. Okay, now that we've spent a good amount of time discussing all of the good things, the activities that will truly nurture and support our well-being, let's now take a moment to really delve into the things that you should absolutely and intentionally avoid if you want to keep your body healthy and your mind clear and sharp, especially after you reach the very significant age of 70. These are some really crucial things that we need to be aware of. First and foremost, let's start with something that has become a very common problem in modern life, and that is a sedentary lifestyle. Please avoid this. It can be tempting to just sit for long periods, especially if our bodies are feeling tired and run down, but prolonged periods of sitting is genuinely your enemy. Inactivity can lead to a whole range of very serious issues, including cardiovascular problems, obesity, and it can even contribute to cognitive decline. This is not about becoming a marathon runner or a professional athlete. It's about intentionally and consciously integrating movement into your daily life. Remember that beautiful and timeless lesson that the Buddha gave us when he taught that keeping our bodies healthy is a duty, so that we can live with strong minds and have the health and vitality to really live fully. Take a brisk walk each morning, do some gentle stretching exercises, or do some simple gardening tasks, or get out into nature. Do whatever works best for you, but please, just move. Just make it a regular part of your life. Your body will thank you for it in so many ways. Secondly, and equally as importantly, avoid social isolation at all costs. This can have a truly devastating impact on our health if we allow it to. It's really not just about avoiding the very real feelings of loneliness, and that can be incredibly tough. It's about actively and intentionally engaging with the world around you, and it's about seeking out genuine and authentic connection. Start to join a local community club or group. Think about volunteering in your local community. Make time to spend with your family and your friends. Do all that you can to build those meaningful and long-lasting relationships. When we can genuinely and authentically connect with other human beings, it's as if we are all sharing the burden and the joys of this shared human experience. And I want to remind you that our families, those people who truly care for us, are always our immediate support, and we really do need them, and at the same time, they need us far more than we often realize. We all need each other. And finally, please do not ignore medical checkups. These can actually, literally, save your life. If potential health problems are caught early, that creates the possibility of far more effective treatment. Routine checkups, screenings, and intentionally and actively managing any chronic conditions is absolutely key for long-term health and overall well-being. I know that many of us may not always feel excited about going to the doctor, and in many cases it can even be something we put off doing. But it's important to really understand that it is a very vital and fundamental part of taking genuine care of ourselves. This really isn't something that we should avoid out of a sense of fear. Please remember, prevention is always far easier and far less painful than the cure. Early detection makes all the difference in the world. And finally, one last thing. Avoid negative thinking like the plague. I know that this can sometimes be tough, and we all fall into those patterns of negativity. But we must become more conscious of our thoughts and deliberately try to practice mindfulness and positive and intentional thinking. We must also consciously and intentionally engage in activities that bring us joy and a sense of purpose. If we can deliberately choose to surround ourselves with positivity and then learn to challenge our negative thoughts, we can make a huge difference to how we feel each and every day. We must also practice self-compassion, understanding that we are all on a journey and that we will all make mistakes. It's really not about pretending that life is always perfect, but rather, it's about intentionally focusing on our perspectives and training ourselves to find the good, the gifts, even within the midst of the various challenges that we all face. Remember those deeply wise words that the Stoic philosopher, Epictetus, offered us when he said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." This beautifully and succinctly highlights the fundamental importance of how we choose to perceive our experiences. It's all about our perspective and the meanings we give to our lives. All right, everyone, let's bring it all together now and bring this journey to a close. We have all journeyed together through some incredibly important, insightful, and thought-provoking ideas today. Remember that walking less and instead focusing our energies on a well-balanced diet and engaging in more meaningful mental activities is really the crucial shift that we all need to embrace, especially if we want to truly live our best lives and maintain our health and vitality as we journey forward into the later years of life. It's all about taking a far more holistic, much more proactive, and more conscious approach to our health and overall well-being. We can't just drift along and hope for the best. We have to become more active participants in our own lives. We need to make more conscious decisions, and ultimately, we need to learn to live more intentionally. If you found that this video has been in any way valuable to you, or if you have found even one little thing that resonates with you, please do give it a big thumbs up, share it with someone that you care about, and please subscribe to our channel, Buddhist Lotus, for more of these deeply insightful videos and inspiration. And please do not forget to tap on that little notification bell so you can make sure that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos, all of which are filled with wisdom, practical ideas and guidance, and also a lot of love. And most importantly, let's keep this conversation and this sense of community going. Please share your story with all of us. I would genuinely love to hear from you. Tell me what you're going to implement from this video, or share an experience that you've had or a challenge that you've overcome. And if you happen to be new to our community, just take a moment to type in, "I am a newbie," in the comments section below. And for those of you who have been following my journey for a while, just take a moment to type, "I am mindful," to let me know you are still with us. We are truly a global community here, and we are in this together. We are all on a journey. Let's all strive together for health, mindfulness, and a life of greater meaning and purpose, and let's support each other every step of the way. Thank you all, from the bottom of my heart, for joining me on this shared journey. Until we meet again, please be well, stay healthy, stay mindful, and always choose to live as beautifully and intentionally as you possibly can.